Rockin', my brother. Yo, how are we feeling today?
Oh man, blessed, black, and highly favored is what Charlemagne the God always says, and that's how I'm feeling at the moment, man. How about yourself?
Look, dog, we are up and up, and I am so grateful for the exact adversity that I have right now because looking forward in reverse, I know this is going to be an incredible chapter in my book. So,
Man,
look,
so talk to me, man. Like that's because this journey, people always admire and appreciate the outcome and have very little appreciation for the process. Like I'm a
mhm.
process guy. So like I care, I want to hear about and there's value in us sharing the the process, the pieces of the process that people oftentimes don't appreciate because they're just focused on the outcome. Like they see what someone else has
Mhm.
produced and they say, man, like that's what I want. And it's like, well, but do you want what I had to go through to get here? You know what I'm saying? Like it's the whole story.
It's a get through to get to. Ain't no way around it, over it, under it. You got to go through that brick wall of adversity. And if we want to truly be great, we got to look at difficult differently. Okay, mediocre people will get on Facebook and talk about their problems because they want to be validated in the way they feel. And sometimes it's a great place to have that for social media, for it to be like a digital diary. But exceptional people are looking for answers, solutions, SOPs, strategies, and whatnot. So I'm definitely going to get into this, but I'm going to make sure we knock out our disclaimer and we let these folks know who we are for all of our new listeners, our new classmates. So, look, guys, we get into actionable information where sometimes we're putting the being back in human being. Sometimes we're really talking that talk about investing, building businesses, using highly sophisticated tactics to get it done. So, with that information, I have to let you guys know this information is meant to be used for informational and educational basis. We highly encourage you to work with licensed professionals, bonded in nature if need be, with a long track record of success. Having a bunch of Instagram likes is not a track record of success. You have to do real homework to figure out what they're doing. And we always encourage you to do your own research because no one can do it for you. No one can understand it for you. So as you learn more, each one, reach one, because that's how we learn and grow as a community.
Already.
So look, guys, my name is Earl. I am the managing partner at Tax Erasers. The fastest way to double your wealth is to cut your tax liability in half. The law of conservation of energy says there's so much energy that goes into doing what you're already doing. If you can earn more money without expending more energy, you win at the end of the day. You win. You have a better quality life than your competitors, and you'll have a better quality business than your competitors. So that's what we do. I am one half of this amazing show here where we teach you about different assets and how they link together every week. And then I have my partner, the legendary Jesse Bullock, who's going to tell you about what he does and how he does it.
Oh man, I appreciate that, my brother. So obviously, yes, Jesse Bullock, founder of Bullseye Consulting, and what we do really is liberate because we were kind of talking about that a moment ago. The ups and downs of entrepreneurship. It's a real sacrifice in order to really get it out of the mud and take a dream and turn it into a cash flowing business that actually has market value. So as we're in that cycle of making sacrifices to our entrepreneurial ambitions, it's very easy to become a prisoner of one's own passion. And that's where a solid strategy comes into place. So, I'm talking to you now on the heels of my client today telling me that today was the first time in recent history that his phone has not been blowing up ridiculous from a bunch of phone calls from those that report to him. And that's because we have instituted an organizational structure in which there's a leadership team in place with measurable targets. So we're not speaking about how well that they're performing their job based off of emotions. We're looking at key performance indicators that tie to the job description, that ties to the performance expectations that were established and clearly communicated and accepted as such. So it takes the emotional element out of operating a business or a hustle factory so that that business actually has market value. Because when you remove the business owner from the mix of the daily hustle of everything that's going on, the business still thrives because there's a leadership team in place with systems and processes and key performance indicators that demonstrate that the business is actually growing and sustaining itself. So, yeah, but moving back to
you're saying that, you know, these finance guys, they like to say we're moving the KPIs and such with the SOPs to get some. You're saying that you're talking to business owners and their employees, and you are looking at their business holistically, and you are making it run in a more efficient way with better communication and better structure to not only increase the value of the business, but to increase the free time and quality of life of the business owner at the same time?
See, man, and this is why our joint venture, you know, our partnership with Freedom Media Group and what we're doing over on the Authority Hour are so vitally important, because you just took what I did, what I said, which was a whole bunch of word salad, and like simplified, like concise, straight to the point. Yes, that is exactly the way to describe what it is that I do. And I recognize that that's not a strong suit of mine, which in part is why we do what we do here on the platforms that we're building, because what continues to demonstrate what it is that I do is just constant. I'm talking about it, and it's going to go out through a content strategy, because I'm not as concise as you are, my brother. But you, you got that. You got that, brother. Appreciate that.
I
But no,
appreciate you because you're doing things at such a high level, the way that you're pulling the levers. I got to be on my P's and Q's to even understand. Like, you've taught me so much over the last year or so, and things that I instill in my business. And then I start talking to people and they're like, are you a business coach? And I'm like, dang, he really rubbed off on me, man. So I appreciate you for that. And my thing, anytime I learn a new concept, I always kick it back in my own words to make sure that when I kick it back to you in my own little Earl twang and Earlisms, that you say, yes, that's what it is. And
right.
From the repeated process of doing that habitually over the years, to take grandiose concepts into a way where not only do I understand it, but I have the comprehension level of it to be able to teach someone. Maybe not at a master level like Jesse doing this. I'm not a business coach. However, I could give people key pieces of information where they go, wow, that makes sense, where it's actionable. They could start moving and grooving. And then once they do that, they're like, what's the next step? The next step is booking a consultation with Bullseye Consulting. That's what the next step is. I ain't got no more for you, okay?
Yeah. No, but I think that at the core of what you and I are talking about right now is recognizing one's own strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats to their own, you know, ability to survive or thrive. And for me, I'm self-aware enough to know what my weaknesses are. And it's in that recognition that I kind of structure the way that I move accordingly, because it's certain things that they're going to change over time, but it's going to take a while because I've been who I am for, 41 years. So that
Mm-hmm.
that pivot where my concise messaging just comes, just like it is not something that I've focused on a lot, because what I do is not simple. It's a lot to it. So for me, it's like I'm gonna have my social media that's doing a lot of the work for me. So it's like by the time that I'm talking to you, we don't have to go through all of the small talk or any of those things. Like, we can kind of get straight to it, because the social media has done its job of nurturing that lead into, a qualified, actually qualified them rather. And it's multiple ways to skin this cat. And I think about it from the perspective of, I'm going to have people in place doing certain things that ensures that engine keeps roaring, so that I can focus on doing the things that actually bring like peace and joy and
Mm-hmm.
like purpose, to like, it fuels my passion. Like, what I do, the actual work itself
Mm-hmm.
is what I love, and focus on being the best at it. And the other things, it's like putting strategies in place so that those things don't fall off the plate, but I don't have to like drastically change who I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a weakness of mine that I'm cool with, and I'll outsource it.
No, no, that's powerful. I think one of my big goals this year was to speak in a why, how, what matter when I'm asked to be on different platforms, talk about taxes, talk about finances, talk about life insurance, talk about trust, do a lot of trust seminars, because people have no idea how they should be operating. And I've seen a gigantic shift in the value that people receive from me because it gets past that barrier. A lot of times when we think about ego, we think about it overly elevating ourselves and being in an arrogance or a cockiness. But your ego wants to keep you homeostatic. It wants to keep you at a certain level. And that can be down while you're raising up, because it is safer for you to stay down where you're at instead of venturing out of the cave. And I say that to say, using Simon Sinek really outlaid the why, how, what platform for me when he had his TEDx around, I think it was 2013. And it's, instead of speaking in the opposite order, which most people do. So, hey, if I'm selling you a TiVo, look, this is a TiVo. It has remarkable technology. This technology has come from all these different German da 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 da. With that, you can stop, rewind, and record television, whatever you want. Would you like to buy one? And people go, maybe if they're a tech enthusiast. Now, if we change that order around and say, you are one of the hardest working people that we know. You sacrifice for your kids, for your family, for your boss, to protect your boss's ego, and you have a hectic schedule. You have things pulling you around at all times. We believe you should be able to enjoy your quality programs, TV shows, and movies when you're ready to. And we've developed a technology that does that. We have some of the best scientists in the world that created this device that can record, rewind, pause live TV so you never miss out on the best moments of entertainment while you're chasing life in the pursuit of happiness. Would you like to purchase one? Completely different psychological experience, right?
Oh man. Yeah.
So I'm doing the same thing in my brand, where it used to be getting right into it. Hey, if you just have a CPA, you're probably missing out on all these deductions and credits, because they're only deduction based, because they're working in silos, because and I'm just going, and it's like, if they get it, awesome. If they don't, they don't. Versus saying, look, I believe that small businesses are really the heartbeat of America, because 65% of all Americans work in a small business, not for a gigantic corporate conglomerate monster. Being the way the system works right now, 93% of those business owners overpay on taxes. And I'm talking about the ones that already have a CPA. And you're asking me, why is that? Well, when is the last time your CPA brought you a new idea to make money and save money on taxes? How well do they understand your business goals, your personal goals, and your investment and legacy goals? If you just answered, I bring them the ideas, if you just answered, they have no idea how any of those goals work, you have just found the silos that are creating your overpaying of taxes, giving Uncle Sam a tip instead of building your own legacy off the back of the IRS. So that's what we do. We make sure you have a holistic approach to all of your finances where every department's talking to each other. Now, $1 can do the work of four. And that is not only how you get ahead, but that's how the next two generations get ahead based on the work we're doing right now. And they're like, wow, I get it. How can I book a consultation? I don't get what's the price. I don't get how many programs do you have. I don't get, some weird question about some weird tax strategy. They go, wow, that sounds phenomenal. How do I get an appointment? Right now, this month, discovery calls are free. It's 15 minutes. We're going to go through and figure out where your greatest opportunities are. And then from there, because we do everything with teams, we're going to pick the team most appropriate for your tax, financial, or estate planning issue and work from there.
Right.
Are you feeling?
How long? Because what I hear in all of that was there was intentional investment into increasing the value of your own time and based on what you provide to the ecosystem. Like that was an intentional investment. You didn't just stumble into being able to articulate the value so concisely. That was again an investment. So how long from the time that you recognized that you needed to have an evolved strategy to how you communicate that value to get into the space of it just kind of rolling off of your tongue the way that it does now?
That is a phenomenal question. So I would say conceptually, it took me 3 or 4 years to understand how valuable this kind of tax planning would be to add on to working with business coaches, working with fractional CFOs, working with estate attorneys, CPAs, and real estate professionals. So the actual understanding of the business took about 4 years to really, really get. Now, the communication piece of that, I would say it probably took 2 years because I don't know if anyone else does this, but when you learn something new, you really want to keep going and going and going until you get to the bottom of that knowledge well. And then you get excited about it and you want to tell somebody because each one, reach one, teach one. That's how we learn and grow as a community. So that puts me in a space where I'm like, oh, I learned all this and I'm just going. And then immediately I'm like, well, I just can't tell them the simple thing. I got to tell them the complicated stuff. I got to tell them the craziest outcomes of it. And then we have this person that's overstimulated and undermotivated because the confused mind does nothing. So it's normally a conversation with myself where I go, why did I do that? Why did I go mad scientist on person when you could always start off simple and you can just elevate the conversation up? And it's funny because the tax planning space is something that's newer to me versus the, financial planning space. That's something that I learned very quickly that if I just start off simple, hey, there could be some opportunities to be able to save you some money and make you some money. Sometimes it's the same strategy. So I could save you money and make you money at the same time. How does that sound? Sounds good. Great. What if I could also protect that money from downside in the stock market? So save you money, make you money, and protect you from the stock market volatility. That sounds phenomenal. Great. Let's set up a meeting. And then when I'm explaining the different concepts, whether it's trust, whether it's investment grade insurance, whether it's whatever vehicle and tool we're talking about, I always come in simple. And then if the person knows, then we can just elevate and we can go up more and more and more. Every once in a while, I'll get someone who used to be a trader on Wall Street and they want to test my gangster. I'm like going through the thing. And they're like, well, I've always been an option trader. So what's up with that? And I'm like, well, this strategy is using dynamic hedging, which is an in-house relational purchase of the options, which is going to supersede out case. And they're just like, you see them eyes get big. They're like, yeah. Totally makes sense. Totally makes sense. Then they don't have any more monkey ass questions for me. They hit that button one time, put them glasses on. So my brother, one thing that I want to ask you about, because I know you're working incredibly hard and you're working all these different hours in different cities because you're currently in Michigan, right?
Yep. Back Grand Rapids.
Grand Rapids, Michigan. Have you had the opportunity to see what's going on some of these carrier ships and the morale of airmen, naval folks, Army, and different military force that are on these carriers?
So historically, those naval ships have gotten serviced out of Bahrain. Well, the beginning of the war, the Iranians, and our media hasn't been speaking about this the way that they probably should have, which the Iranians, they've been tearing up U.S. military bases all around the world, well, the Middle East rather. They've been like blowing them all up. Kuwait. So, and I've been there. Like these places were like super safe. It was cool. Qatar, it was cool. Like went downtown to the mall shopping and had a ball. These places have historically been very safe deployments. Well, the Iranians been blowing all of them bases up. So when they blew up Bahrain is the location that those naval vessels would typically go into port to get the necessary servicing and to give relief to all of the sailors and the Marines that are on those boats. Because it's like they've been out there on the water for like 250 days so far or something like that with no break.
Right, and they're supposed to be 90 days, which my partner tells me because he was in the Navy for a bunch of years. So my other partner in the tax strategy business says 90 days you get a beer day, period. That's how it goes. Go ahead, brother. I just want to hop in there.
Yeah, no, and they've done the psychological studying on this, where it's like when you're in those close quarters, because people don't understand the living conditions that the naval folks commit themselves to. Like it's like very close, tight quarters, not a lot of space at all. And to go like to be able to endure that, there's only so long that someone can like do that without it starting to have like true psychological effects on them as a human being. So to go from, which I didn't know that it was 90 days, but I know that it damn sure ain't 250. So to go to that like range of imbalance is absolutely absurd, but it speaks to the lack of planning going into this entire thing. Because the second that the Iranians were attacked, they started attacking back. And all of those bases that, you just kind of take them for granted. Like those are the unsung heroes, those bases. When I was going through Kuwait, I was transitioning into Iraq or Afghanistan. So it was like it was a hub. And Qatar, they had the Combined Air Operations Center, which they pretty much oversee all of the air operations in the theater of battle. So like very high level responsibilities that were going there, but like chill, you know what I mean? Like no threat, just but vital missions. And
Right.
now those bases are like completely gone, and you see the ripple effect in the form of the ships not being able to port anywhere. So they've been working out of like porting out of Diego Garcia, but Diego Garcia is significantly far, like very far away from where they're stationed to maintain that blockade. So it's the thing that's really interesting to about all of this, and
Mm-hmm.
we really need to be paying attention as citizens. You know, we was talking. I know I would be going off on my little mini rants on this in prior episodes, and I'm not going to do that this time. But this stuff is really impactful to the global economy. The reason that we've been able to enjoy such cheap goods is because we've been the United States has been like the guardian and the bully of the world, in the sense of by having control of, you know, land, sea, air, when it comes to from a military perspective, it kept other countries in check, and it established it like a, a hierarchy of how things move, how things happen in the world. And the United States has been at the top of that for a very long time. Well, now that these countries can no longer rely on the United States to protect them, that changes how the world operates. It creates new alignments. It's a lot that happens, like from a global economic perspective, that's gonna have impacts on us that are long standing. You know what I mean? Because again, having the global like superpower title and, you know, protecting land, sea, air, and all of that, it has driven our prices to be low. You know, and having the world currency, I mean, having the reserve currency rather, and all of these different the petrodollar, having all of this leverage came from the never tested just understanding that you don't want to fuck with the United States. Well, now the Iranians have poked the United States right in the eyes, and the world is watching the United States kind of stumble around and figure it out. But as the United States is stumbling around and figuring it out, the rest of the world is figuring it out too, because they're like, yo, I thought that they could protect us. They don't even give a damn about us, and they can't protect us anyway. So we got to go figure out how to make, you know, how to protect ourselves. So do we need to go build relationships with China? Do we need to go build relationships with India? Do we need to go build relationships in Pakistan? Like, what do we need to do to secure our own, you know, security and ability to survive and thrive in this world? Like, the whole global balance is in question right now. And we are going to feel that for generations to come.
I really like what you said when you threw out, we've been the guardian and the bully, because that is a great way to look at our foreign domestic policy, where these alliances normally come through an act of survival. They're not normally a happy high five. So maybe, you know, our closest ally, like the UK, it's because we speak the same language, shared history, cool. We used to have a phenomenal relationship with Canada, speak the same language, shared history, cool. However, if I'm looking and I'm in Omar, if I'm in Bahrain, if I'm in these different places, and I look at a leadership who right now is, you know, making fun of my nation, my faith, you know, they're not showing respect for all the dead that we have, for the children that were slaughtered, for the resources that were lost. And I even see them speaking so negatively about their own troops, where, we see people in our government right now calling these very brave men and women losers, weaklings, and even worse than that. That's just what they're saying on television and in text on Truth Social, Twitter, and other apps. I would think that I would intentionally do whatever I could to not support that nation. I think it's a no-brainer. I'm a human. If I was in that situation, you know what I mean? So it puts us at a great risk. I was just reading an article about what you've been talking about since probably the second or third episode, that we have foreign agencies that are in our systems. And right now, so it was a breakdown from a high-level systems engineer saying that China has been in our phone systems for over 2 years. And it's a slow process of getting them out. How did they get in? Well, because police agencies and whatnot forced a open space to have a back door to be able to go in and tap a phone and do other things of that nature with a warrant. Creating all these different back doors across all these different carriers, which overloop on top of each other with different technologies, it was bound for someone to have the intellect to know how to get into that system. So I saw advisements that if you have this carrier, and this carrier, to not send information via text, because these nations will get it. It's like, wow, we're at that point. But one, if you're doing something super secret, you shouldn't be texting anyways. That's from, that's from the jump. Now, we do put ourselves in quite a precarious situation. It's like, as a nation, we're getting attacked on multiple levels, where it's control of commodities, it's control of different energy systems and energy cycles, control of communication, and, some people would argue control of politics, where we saw Russian interference in our elections. And we saw, certain parties put people on trial for thing A, and it exposed thing B, which where it was like pork barrels spending, money going into super PACs, money coming from foreign agencies. And then this is like, oh, yeah, nothing's going to happen right now. Nothing's going to happen right now. Subject change justice was enacted. And all I could do is laugh, because it has to be the wackiest thing to experience in real time. So when we get on this podcast, it's never to scare you guys, it's never to be fear mongers. We got to talk about reality, because we both have eyes. And Jesse and I are both optimists. However, we're both realists. At the end of the day, the ish got to make some sense. And with that being said, we like to give you great information on what you can do in the short to protect yourself and to stay ready and to stay prepared when opportunities show. Now, one thing that is coinciding with all this stuff going on, and it looks like it may be one of the causes of the next great recession that we're supposed to have about 7 months from now, auto loans. We had greed combined with inflation, combined with rates increasing, all at the same time to make this monster right now. I looked it up, several different sites yesterday, several different credible sources, that almost 30% of people that have an SUV or a truck are behind on their payments. 30%. And it's scaling up towards 42%. And it was interesting to be able to look at the structure that some of these nations and entities have. So the deep dive has been on Ford, because Ford, they drastically shifted their pricing model along with Dodge, along with, a whole bunch of other manufacturers that had affordable cars. They stopped making $25,000 cars and they all started 38,000 and above. Why? Because coming out of COVID lockdown, when we had the flash crash, money was so cheap. It was 0.5% for banks to lend to each other. So that meant people were getting 2% rates on vehicles. Now, there was this
variable.
myth.
Were this variable or fixed?
So these are fixed.
Okay.
So these are fixed rates where, if you have stellar credit, you could have got a 2%. But if you didn't have stellar credit, still could have been paying 19%. So as time goes on and we see this hyperinflation hitting insurance, hitting, all these different goods that we need to live. So groceries, energy, water, it's really putting a strain on these vehicles. So people start shifting to used vehicles. So they hyperinflate used vehicles and you're like, dang, it's not even really that much of a savings. Now here's the part where it gets wicked. They kept these vehicle prices the same because most people don't care about the cost of a vehicle. They care about their monthly payment. And you and I speak on this all the time. There's a huge difference between value, cost, and price. Sometimes there's a point where there's intersection, right? However, you have to understand the value. So getting these F-150s that are behemoths now is basically an SUV on a truck bed. People are paying $1,000 per month before car insurance. The car insurance might be $400 per month. So they're paying almost $1,500 a month just to have this vehicle before fuel. You think F-150s are fuel efficient? Maybe for a truck, but not compared to a Prius. So people are starting to get ate alive with the cost of everything going up around them. And then these vehicles don't last forever. They're just not manufactured that way. So you go to get another vehicle, you're like, yeah, I want another truck. Now you're getting hit with the crazy interest rates, where before your monthly payment could have been $200, $300 per month. Like there was a lady that was speaking about her issue because she let her teenager drive her truck. They got in a car accident, had insurance. It was the other person's fault. Loan gets paid off, right? They had gap insurance, all that kind of good stuff. Go to get a new vehicle. They got the same thing. Her monthly payments went from $200 per month to $800 per month on the exact same vehicle. So it's an unsustainable model. And now it looks like the sentiment is shifting where different surveys among truck owners and SUV owners, unless you really have the family where you need it, or you have a lifestyle that requires a large truck, it seems like over 60% of these people are moving away from it. So what does that mean for our stock market? Well, some of these organizations have created what's called tranches, where basically when you look at the risk of an investment, how much money is going out for the investment and how the investor gets paid back on that loan. Ford holds its own entity to do its own loans. And they basically have 3 different tranches based on how much money you put in it. So tranche 1, let's say you're an investor and you put 20 million plus. You get to be in tranche 1. You only put 10 million in, you're tranche 2. And then tranche 3, let's say you put $1 million or better, and then they have tranches like 5, 6, and 7 for people putting significantly less money in there. They did the math and calculated that even if 42% of people completely stopped paying for these vehicles, tranches 1 through 3 would all get a return on their money and it would not harm them at all. And that the entire entity itself would still be profitable, even though that's a devastation of the nation. If we're talking about Ford is a gigantic company. If we're talking about 42% of people, just not being able to make payments, what does that reflect on with the rest of the world that we have going on? How are people getting to work? How are they picking their kids up? How are they working all these side gigs? Because your average American has more than one gig now. So what are they doing? I mean, so we just got to stay mindful to watch this. And if you're in a position where you are way overpaying, do anything you can to get out, whether it's a trade or you're able to sell that, get out of your lease. It's a way to sell your lease to people. It's a way to sell your finance vehicle to someone else looking to take similar payments, have them take over and get you an affordable vehicle. Because when we have this reset of the stock market, possibly the real estate market, possibly a whole bunch of different things, you're going to want to be ready to deploy your capital in ways that benefit your family for the next generation and the next generation and the next generation after that.
Hey, bro, do you think that our economy is going to evolve to, because when we think about the price of energy and in the direction that it's going in, and it's only starting now. Like, we know, because you got to give it to this administration. Like, whatever levers that they have been able to pull behind the scenes in order to artificially keep oil, like the barrels low, there's only so much of that trickery that can be done before it's just like, all right, now, you know what I'm saying? And they have exhausted a lot of the trickery. You know, like all of the people that really study this stuff, they have no idea how oil per barrel is not through the roof right now. Like they have no, it's just befuddling. Well, again, the government, they got their tricks, but it's only so much of that that's possible before reality actually hits. So as reality is really striking, do you see a evolution within our economy as far as like incentivizing people not to drive their vehicles because of the limitations on the production and refinement of those natural resources?
That is a great question. I think that's a possibility of reality. The other possibility of reality is manufacturers shifting and making affordable vehicles again. And I definitely see China, who's always playing 8-dimensional chess, being in a position where Chinese EVs start coming into the market. And there's got to be some sort of deal where some of the purchase price would maybe go to American manufacturers to keep them going. Because as we've talked about on this show, as we've learned at InvestFest, as we've learned through our studies, we're basically 10 years behind China when it comes to battery technology, because we created this monopoly that supported Tesla. And then we had, Rivian and a couple other EV programs, which are cool or whatever. Man, there's already solid state battery technology. What does that mean? It means you could go maybe 1,000 miles, maybe more, on one charge that's electrical. There's already cars out there that have solar panel roofs where they're constantly charging. They already have the technology to take a car from nothing to fully charge in less than 10 minutes. It's already there, but we have such a the oil cartel, that they've used their money to keep these sorts of things out. And now we're in a position where it almost gets forced in. And I wonder if we see oil conglomerates start to buy even more EV technology, more EV charging stations, and whatnot to be able to offset. And you're going to see commercials. We're BP. We've always cared about Mother Nature. We've always cared about da 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 da. So get you a BP Mobile today. I think that is the likely thing to happen, where the future moving forward is a lot more EV based. Because I see people in the streets with all kinds of different action. If you try to tell some of these certain people, tell somebody in West Virginia they can't drive their truck. I dare you. I double dog dare you. Tell these folks in Texas that. Tell these mountain people in Colorado that. And see what happens. See what happens. So we just got to look and see, my brother, but that's such a powerful question.
Yeah, no, because I'm just kind of thinking about it. Human psychology like moves around incentives. So whenever that you identify opportunity or missed opportunity, like when you look at the root of the incentives that empower that opportunity, that's gonna the outcome of the opportunity or the missed opportunity. So in recognizing, because we already lived through COVID and the lockdowns and all of that stuff. Well, that was like through forced like coercion. People ain't going for that again. Like, you talk about people being out in the streets in non-productive ways. Yeah, tell them they can't be out no more. But
give them a curfew.
But I could see them coming with incentives that makes it less attractive to be driving gas-powered vehicles, but like even that, because the electricity, short of, oh man, it's so much to all of that, because you were talking about how the cars can got the solar panels, so they're charging in real time from the sun. Absent that, because it still takes energy to produce electricity, like it's still, you know what I mean? Like you still got to use the oil to produce electricity, and it's
right. It's almost like we're gonna get forced to go green just to survive. Like I see plug-in solar is way up, where it's different than traditional solar, which has to go through a whole power system in your house and da 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 da. Where this is more like a plug and play thing. You put those panels where you want to put them, and you get a certain wattage out of them, and it is significantly cheaper than a $30,000-$40,000 set that you used to have to get. And you get this loan, and it's like, how do I sell my house? I got to sell the solar panels too. Where it's like, nah, you just get these panels and you rock and roll. So I totally agree, my brother. So we're just gonna have to stay vigilant, vigilant in how this shapes out, and make sure that we always stay ready so we don't have to get ready. I think this is such a great place for us to land this thing.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was saying that I think this is such a great place for us to land all these conversations here today.
Oh yeah, for sure. So as always, we just two brothers that are observing the world as it's evolving and identifying the opportunities from within what it is that we're seeing, and bring that to you here in the form of the asset class, because ultimately we are our greatest asset individually and collectively, but we've got to do that work in order to give value to the ecosystem. And through that, we all become stronger as a people, when more of us are focused on how we're able to provide more value to the overall ecosystem. So as we're having these conversations, they're all under the guise of, now that go do. And as more of us go do, the better that things get for the collective body. So again, for our classmates that have continued to be rocking with us, could have been anywhere in the world, you're here with us, and we certainly appreciate it. It's been my man Earl.
My guy Jesse.
It's been the Asset Class. Thank you for listening.